Hello, welcome to lesson 5 of the tutorial series on the design and implementation of Soccer League Transfer Portal using server-side Blazor. In lesson 5, we shall be restoring and customizing the user CRUD pages that we deleted in lesson 4. So I'm going to open Radzen. This is the Soccer League Transfer app. Click on it. Now I close this dialog box. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'll click on the icon to create new page. I'll select CRUD pages. I'll click on next. I'll select user. I will change the page name to users. Users. The schema is user. I'm going to include user in rows. I'm going to include club detail. In the entity framework core query, I click next. I click next. I click save. So now let me run the application. Now I'm going to log in as Sen Wenger. Type in the password. I click login. Now when I click on users, so we have just a single user. Like I did this user by double clicking on the record. And to add a new user, I'll click on add link. Now let me see what happens when I try to add a new user. Let me create a new user called Moyek. The password is displayed in the open. So the first order of business here is to customize the password. Let it be the password be hidden. So I'll go back to Radzen. I'll stop the application. I'll go to add user. I'll click on add users. I'll select the text box for password. I will delete it. I'll delete the required validator for password. Then I go to toolbox. Search for my password component. I drop this password component. I change the name to password. I change the value to $user.password. I don't want to autocomplete. I'll change the style to, I will go to style, I'll change the width to 100%. I don't want to autocomplete for this username as well. I can enter placeholder, enter username. Here, I go to the password, put a placeholder, enter password. I go back to the toolbox. I look for required validator. Excuse me. I look for required validator. I drag it to the back of the text box. For this required validator, the associated component will be password, and the text will be password is required. And then I go back. Okay, that's fine. I go back to the outline. I select the row for the password. I right click on the row in the outline. I will now select the duplicate action. I click on the duplicated password control. I go to properties. I'll call it confirm password. The placeholder for this will be re-enter password. I will change the label, the text of this one to confirm password. The associated component will become confirm password. Now, for the required validator, duplicated required validator, the associated component, it will be changed to confirm password. The text message will be confirm password is required, or okay, fine. The value of this one, let me set it to empty for now. Let me go to the outline. I go to the page. I go to events. Then I click on the event handlers. I click on plus button to add a new event handler type. And then under the type, I select set property. And I'm going to create a variable whose name will be confirm password. And I will set the initial value of confirm password to be empty string. Then I click done. I go back to the confirm password text box. I'll now change its value to the new string variable I've just created, which is confirm password. I'll go to the toolbox. I'll look for, I'll type val to get all the validators I have in the toolbox. Then I shall be utilizing the compare validator this time around. So I drag compare validator after confirm password. And the component, associated component for that will be confirm password. And the text for this will be the passwords you entered. Do not match. And then the value will be, for this control will be dollar user dot password. The operator will be left at as equal. Now, let's test the page as it is so far. So we'll click on run. So I'm signing in as Arsene Wenger. Type in my password. So I go to users page, click on add. So I'm going to enter the user week. So I enter this password. And immediately it tells me my password, the passwords you entered do not match. Remove a control. Now they've matched. So there is nothing in club for now. Let's go ahead and populate clubs. So let's go to club details. Okay, excuse me. So we are going to delete this club detail. Press the delete button. So now let's go back to our users page. So we have add this. Okay. So we're going to pause on customizing the user page and do a bit of customization for the club details page. So go to the club details. So quickly customize clubs, add club details. So I'm clicking on add club detail page to customize it. So I customize the validation messages. I customize club logo. Now to customize club logo, I'll delete this text box. I'll delete the required field validator. I'll go to toolbox. look for file input control, drop it. I'll change name of this file input to club logo. Uh, I'll change the choose text to upload club logo. Then the next thing I'm going to do, I'll look for required validator in the toolbox, drop it at the back there. I'll change the associated components to club logo. The text message there will be club logo is required. Club logo is required. Now I'll go to pages. I'll go to edit club detail. I'll go to form. And I'll go to, sorry, let me go to the controls. Let me just customize the controls one after the other. Customize the validation messages first for edit club detail. Let me click here and just customize here. Excuse me. Style office address is required. Contact email is required. Contact telephone is required. Let me customize it here. Then I customize this club logo again. Toolbox for file input. Drag and drop. Change this to club logo. The value will be dollar club detail dot club logo. Change the text to upload club logo. Look for required validator. Put it at the back of club logo. Text club logo. Component is club logo. Text is club logo is required. I go back to add club detail. And there was one thing I forgot to do, and that was to set the value of the upload control to club detail dot club logo. That's done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to go to the list page for club detail, which is club detail itself. Click on the data grid. What I did after clicking on the data grid was to go to columns, click the ellipsis. I will highlight the club logo um, column. I'll go to edit template. I'll go to template. I'll go to template, go to toolbox. I'm going to look for image control. I drag and drop an image control there. I'll click on data bind this property. I'll data bind it to the template property club logo. Then I'll go to style. Okay, that's 50px by 50px for the image. Then I click on end template editing. I click OK, and this is how it looks like now. Let me click stop. Let me run again. So I log in as Radzen. Put in password. Go to club detail. Click add. I'm going to add Kuna FC. Home ground 45. Home ground Kuna Stadium, London. 45, not London. It's the address. Contact email admin at kunafc.com. It's contact telephone. So to upload club logo, click that control and go to my downloads. Kuna FC, upload. I say save. Click add again. Blazor FC. Home ground Sandbridge. Home ground Bridge Stadium. Registered office address 23 South East London. Contact email admin at blazorfc.com. Contact telephone upload club logo. So now let's go back to users page. Click on add. So let me create a new user called week. Let me enter the password. Enter password. So when I click save, okay, then there is a bit of security loophole. We want to remove the password column. So To remove the password column, I stop the application, I go to pages, I'll click on users, click on the data grid, I'll click on the ellipsis for columns, I click on delete for the password, I click on OK. I run the application again. So I sign in as Asen Manga. So let me sign in as Moik. Just since I've just created Moik, I'll go first. I'll be signing in as Moik. So I type in the password. Oh, it says you're a valid application user, but you have not been assigned any role. Please contact system admin. Let me sign in as Asen Wenger. So let me go to users in roles and choose Moik and assign in role of site admin. Say save. So close the running page. Let me stop the application. Let me run it again. So now I'm signing in as Moik. Click login. Now, so we have this. Let's go back to users page. So to edit a user, you just double click. Okay, fine. To add a user, you do. There is still one more piece of business. I want a situation whereby I can immediately assign roles to user. Immediately I'm creating them. So I'll go ahead and do that. Implement that functionality. We are going to add roles to the add users page and the edit user page. Let me click cancel here. So let me go back here. I stop the application. I'll click on add users page. I'll go to this. I'll select this club detail drop down. I want to customize the placeholder. Just put space there. Now I'll go to outline. I'll select the row for the club details. I will duplicate it. Now, first thing first, I'll go to properties and change the text to that club detail to club. Then I click outside. Now For this drop down, the duplicated drop down, I will delete it. Then I'll click on the associated label. I'll change the text to user roles. Excuse me, user roles. Then I will drag it a fresh drop down list here. I'll change the name of this drop down list to user roles. I'll go to style. I'll change the width property to 100%. Now I'll go back to properties. I will create a new data source for this drop down list by clicking on new. Now the operation will be get rows. The response will be value. I click save. Now the text property will be role name. The value property will also be role name. I'm going to allow the selection of multiple items as well. The placeholder will be please assign role to user. Assign role to user. Please assign role to user. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'll go to outline. I'll go to page. I'll click on the page property, which is the page control, which is the parent control. Here, I'll go to events. I'm going to click on handle the load event. I click on plus. I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this variable user role names. I'll set the property to new, the value property to new list of string. New list of string. I'm not making it global, so I'll check. The property type will be, I'll change it to enumerable. Then I click done. I'll go back to the user roles drop down. I will assign the value to the newly created list variable I've just created, which is user roles names. Now, let's open Management Studio for some brief explanation. So, I'm connecting to the instance called Ibukunlua. Now, Soccer League DB is the database of our application, so I'll expand the node for it. I want to create a new database diagram, so I right click and say new database diagram. SQL Server Management Studio says this database does not have one or more of the support objects required to use database programming. Do you wish to create them? So I say yes. Now in this diagram, I'm going to be adding user in rows and rows table. So I click add after that. And I click close. Now at the database level, we have user in rows table acting as a link between users and rows table. And the reason is because a user can belong to many rows and many rows can be assigned to a single user. So we have a many-to-many relationship between users and rows. So now let me save the database diagram 0, okay, click OK. Now back to Radzen. Let's run our app so far so that we can see that there is no errors. So I'm going to sign in as Moyek. Type in my password. I go to users. I click on add. I want to do this. I want to see if I can assign. Okay, fine. So I can pick on multiple user rows. That's cool. Let's click cancel. Now let me click on stop. It is time to do some customization in Visual Studio. So like I said, it's time for us to do some customization in Visual Studio. So I'll go to my applications. This is the app we are working on, Soccer League Transfer app. I click on show application directory. Then I'll double click on the Visual Studio solution file. So I'm going to close this dialog box by clicking on no. I'll go to Solution Explorer. So I'm going to the Add Users page. Under Pages folder, the name of the Add Users page is adduser.razor. So I'm going to expand it. I'm going to also open the code behind file for it, which is adduser.razor.cs. So I'm going to create a custom method to add a new application user and associated role list. So I'm going to say private async task Moyik add new user. Now the first thing I'm going to check if user has been assigned to any role. How do I do that? So I'm going to say if user role names. User role names is the string variable I created in the designer dot any. Now else. So for if user has not been assigned to any role, so if user not assigned to any role, notification service dot notify notification severity dot error. Excuse me. Notification service dot notify notification severity dot error. No role assignment is the summary. Error message, you have not assigned this user to any role. Display error message for 5,000 milliseconds or 5 seconds and return. Now, if user roles contain, if user role names contain any element, then what do? We are going to create a list of user in row. I'm going to import the con data namespace. Hold on, just for me to confirm something. So click transfer app user. What I can add here. Okay, user in row. Good. So users in row. Users in rows is equal to new list of users in rows. Now for each string row name in user row names. var okay, so no, let me not say var, let me say row is equal to await con data dot moik get row by name row name. This method does not yet exist, so I click on the squiggly line, I select generate method. Now I right click, go to definition. Okay, right now the definition is in condataservice.custom.cs that we created in an earlier lesson. So refer to my playlist to see how this was done, how this custom file was generated. Now let me change this to public async task row, will you get row by row name. So here say var row is equal to new row. So I say return row. Then I say var row1 equals, okay, let me do some try. So do some catch exception. So let me say var row1 equals context dot rows dot first or default. Where row name equals input parameter row name. Now, if row 1 is not null and row 1 dot roll ID is greater than 0, point row 1 reference to row reference. Now we go back to add users dot razor, and here we are going to say if row is not null and row dot row ID greater than 0, users in rows dot add, dot add new users in row roll ID equals row dot roll ID user is equal to the current user object on this page. Now, after iterating through all the role name in user role names, the next thing we are going to do is to say user dot user in rows equals small user in rows. So let me say create new user in rows list. Iterate over all row names. Check if a row which matches current row exists in data store. Create new user in role object and add it to user in rows list. attach user in rows list to current user object. So now add new user to data store. How do we do that? We are going to say var result is equal to await data dot create user. Users are passing the user object. Now I'm going to say if result dot user ID is greater than 0. What that means is new user. So we are checking if new user was successfully created. So if new user was successfully created, URI helper dot navigate to user's page. First load true. Else user not created. Notification service dot notify. Summary will be user creation error. And error occurred while creating new user. Now, having created this custom method, Muyik add new user. The next thing we are going to do is copy the name of the method, go back to Radzen. I'll go to outline. I'll select my form component. I'll go to events. I'll click undo the submit event. I'm going to delete everything that is here. Click on add, select as action type, execute C#. Await, Muyik add new user, and I click done. Now, when you come back to Visual Studio, it tells you that there is one reference for this method. Let me click on stop. Now, let me put a breakpoint here for this method. Now, let me run the entire project in Visual Studio. So click on IS Express. Okay, so application is loaded. I log in as Muyik. I click login. This breakpoint that is on login.razor, I'll just click continue. Now, I go to users page. I'm going to add a new user called Ronaldo. So I'll enter the password for Ronaldo. Choose club detail. Then I'm going to assign. Let me assign all the rows. Now I click on save. Now when I click on save, the breakpoint I set in the custom method is it. Function F10 if user rows.any. So I create this. There is iteration here. Did we get the first row? Let's see. Okay, sweet. So iteration takes place. Successfully had there. Were we able to create a new user? Yes, we were able to create Ronaldo. So because user was successfully created, we are going to navigate to users list page. Click continue. And here is the new user that was created. His club is Kuna FC. Now, one thing I need to do is I want to change the header for this club detail to current club. So what do? I'm going to, I'll stop the application. I'll stop running the application in Visual Studio. I'll go back to Radzen. I'll go to users and output. I'll click on the data grid. Then I'll go to edit columns. I'll click on club details. I'll change the title to current club. I click OK. So I click on run. So click professor. Okay. So you click on users, and you can see this head has been changed to current club. For now, we will adjourn. In the next lesson, we will continue to customize the users CRUD pages because we are not yet done with the customization. Thank you.